just another day of me having to worry about what other people are doing beyond myself, which, you know, and I'm not a parent. And some people are like, well, you should just let people go, let them be. And I have really done some soul searching on that, and I don't want to be that person. With so many people in this world, they just don't care about other people. They only care about themselves. They put themselves number one first. And I'm just not, like, I have felt like for a long time, I didn't like that. I didn't like that way of being. And now I'm finally out front and about saying it. I don't think it's a good way to be. People who only think about themselves, and I know that people are going to say, but a lot of people only think about themselves, and I'm like, yes. But it's so boring. Like, you guys are boring. It's like stale toast. Like, nobody cares about hearing somebody who only thinks about themselves. I'm like, what are you, a toddler? There's nothing trendy, unique about, like, look, you can be individualistic and care about other people, but there's nothing trendy and hip about just not caring about your fellow man. It doesn't make you, like, cool. It doesn't make you, like, ooh, like a unicorn. I think, and I've been doing a lot of investigation about this, like, about tropes and how people overinflate certain things. And yeah, it's a trope, really. But personally, I just think it's better to actually care about other people. And I just don't want to be on that side of history where I'm one of these people who doesn't care about other people. I would feel kind of icky and gross if that were me. But, you know, everybody has to do themselves, right? Some people just need, I don't know, to only think about themselves, I guess. We live in interesting times, and interesting times means you never know what's coming next with people that don't crave stability. But you have to be your own stability, and that's what I say. Don't compromise who you are just because other people say you should. And that's the message I would have given my younger self. I would have been like, you know what? I like who I am. Who I am is great. I don't need to change my political ideology. I don't need to change anything about myself to be a better person. And that's another part. Like, I have been unpacking the libertarian lie, because they lie to you, friends. Like, basically, libertarians are just big government Republicans, okay? And they're not even neocons. They're just like dysfunctional cons. That's how I see them. They're dysfunctional cons, because at least neocons believe in some semblance of law and order. The dysfunctional cons, they don't. They want to distract you with headlines, and it's a great way to divide and conquer. But, you know, just be happy, be strong, and don't fall for their you know, games. And vote in the midterm elections. And vote Democrat. Oh no, it's not gonna vote Democrat. Yeah. After having all these libertarian people, one guy that was trying to push his libertarian long hair agenda. No, my channel is not a place for, like, alt-right pipeline crap. Take your alt-right pipeline to the other side of the town. I'm over it. I'm not for it. I like stability, and we're a channel about stability and progression and people being able to be individuals. Plot twist, libertarians don't really, and this is another thing, I just want to talk about it. I know I say I'm not a political channel, but right now we can't escape politics, okay? Did you know that libertarians, they're like in favor of book bans in schools? Yeah, because every time you would think personal liberty, right? But they think it's cool to ban schools from using certain books, because they're like, well, it's not fair to the kids who object to it. So that's ludicrous, right? In my mind, that they're pro book bans, because they say that we shouldn't be reading certain kinds of books in school. They're very dictatorial. Like, The only thing I think a libertarian is really pro-liberty about is just not wanting to have to pay as much tax, or just wanting to get rid of tax, period. But they would love to have schools where, oh, everything's banned. I don't know. They're interesting. They're an interesting bird. Thank you. So after a few years of them hacking all their lives, like, I just go back and I laugh, like, and I've been doing a lot of research recently, and guess what's happening? Like, with per your research, personal liberty seems to be at an all-time high under Democratic administrations. What they don't like, okay, and what they call liberty is they just don't want people in certain tax brackets to pay more tax. But they're okay with regressive taxes. Like, basically, libertarians will say things like this: well, if there's a free lunch program, it should apply to everybody to be fair. So, in their mind, it's pure communism if low-income kids get a free school lunch when somebody who makes $6 million a year isn't entitled to that free lunch. Even though when you look at sales tax, which didn't go away, like, even if you get some sort of government handout, like, I don't know, food stamps, SNAP, whatever it is, you have to pay income tax on that, right? Not income tax, sales tax, sorry. You still do have to pay income tax if you're low income. And it's a regressive tax. It still is, because it's going to be a higher percentage of what you make than what a richer person makes. So they lie to you. They just don't want people to do well. They don't want other people to succeed. And I think recently a lot of these so-called libertarian, actually Republican, dysfunctional cons, they didn't like that people were starting to do better. They didn't like that, you know, the healthcare system was working better for everyone. They didn't like that there is some stability. They like instability. They'll even go on live streams and be like, oh, it's kind of cool under Donald Trump because we have, like, you never know what's going to happen. So they like instability. Like, why? Because they have FOMO on steroids, okay? This is just the way I see it. I'm not trying to stereotype, and this is not about class warfare, because there's a lot of really affluent people that don't have this scarcity mindset. But libertarians, like people who gravitate to libertarianism, they have a scarcity mindset that somehow other people doing well will make them lose out. Like, I don't see, even if I don't love everything Bill Gates does, I don't see Bill Gates running around, or like even Steve Jobs when he was still alive, or other like affluent people who actually believe in some social safety nets. I don't, I'm like, oh my god, poor people getting this and that, is taking away. It's silly. It's so silly. So I work, but I don't talk about myself beyond hair here, because, like, yeah, I just talk about like social issues sometimes. But, you know, but I'm just talking about like the current state of political affairs. I think we have more stability under Democratic administrations, and I feel we would be doing better under Kamala Harris. Even if she wasn't like the ideal Democratic candidate, we still would have been doing better. We'd be doing better under a Democratic Congress, and that's what the statistics show. And the big beautiful bill is not like going to help us do better, you know? That's all. Hi. I just think that some people need to be honest, like, and I'm talking about, these are discussions that I had with libertarian people where they told me that they were so pro-liberty, but every discussion was always about, they didn't like same-sex marriage, like a lot of them. Maybe some civil liberties, libertarians were not like that. But a lot of the libertarians that kept coming on my channel, or that I used to do collaborations with, deep down they really don't like same-sex marriage. Like, it really bothers them. Even though some of them are not religious and they don't attend church or like synagogue or mosque, they don't go, like, they're not religious, okay? And and even people that are like more religious, like I don't see them having those hang-ups with, like they didn't like certain demographics having civil liberties, and that's just one thing I knew all along. But they tuck like their more opinionated, like kind of grotesque opinions away from the general public. But now recently they're out and about. And then I had this interview with a long-haired guy that I deleted because he asked me to delete it because he was coming on my channel like telling me different things about myself. Well, first off, it was so weird. Okay, whatever you want to do with your life is fine, but he wanted to like take hormones to grow his hair long, which that's your prerogative, but it kind of was leading to him being feminized, right? And then, but he told me he was a Trump supporter and he liked like traditional female roles, but then he said he didn't agree with Trump like going after trans people. But I'm like, you're having some cognitive dissonance here. And he kind of wanted me to like admire him and treat him like a lady and talk about how beautiful his hair was or something. Which, I don't know, if that's what you want, that's fine. But then he was telling me that I should talk about my dating life. And then he was telling me that, and we did this talk, and he was telling me that I should be like conservative like him, and it was weird. And I'm like, I didn't ask for this, but he was like wanting me to do a long hair interview with him. And I don't think everybody's like this, but there's just some elements like that, and that's just one example. But there's so many examples of people that like they actually have like certain values and certain beliefs that don't align with things that Trump are saying, but they want you to love him. And I'm like, I don't love him. But anyway, it's neither here nor there, right? That's cool that you're going to London. But yeah, the state of political affairs in my country, it's just weird. It's weird. And the conservative side wants you to think it's all grape jelly jam, but we don't think that in California. I mean, half the population might. There are some people that are ride or die Trumpies, but yeah, they're all big government though. You know, Trump is very big government, and I'm just unpacking the libertarian line because I knew like these libertarian people. They were all small government. But they voted for Trump because he's bringing tax cuts for the wealthy. Oh my gosh. End of the story. I don't know. But if you want a tax cut, yay for you. I just don't think cutting like social safety nets was a good thing. Like I actually care about people that are misfortunate. And yeah, I can still care about people who make a lot of money. And I just want to unpack that lie. Because it's being, like, it's just being promoted so much right now. Whatever. But, you know, the irony is, and when I see people, I don't see a lot of people saying they want to immigrate to the United States anymore. Like, I would say maybe 15, 20 years ago, yeah. But, and, some of the libertarian people, or the pro-Trumpies, like, they don't get it. They're like, they don't understand that people don't really want to come here. Like, it's not like, there's a lot of other places in the world that are more innovative and more pro-freedom than what we're promoting at the moment. And, like, America acts like we're the only ones that promote freedom, or that we're the only ones that have, like, free speech or something, which isn't true, but, you know. If you want to believe that, like, the last time I checked, like, European countries, Australia, they also have freedom of speech and stuff. Like, yeah, it's interesting. But, you know, if you want to believe whatever the Trump machine tells you. But that's that. It's a lot of fun. Honestly, I'm kind of gearing towards Islam. Islam's a very beautiful religion, and I think people should believe in God, but I don't. On my channel, we're very inclusive about monotheistic Abrahamic God. Oh, and guess what? Muslims do believe in Jesus. I don't believe Jesus is God, by the way. I never did. If you want to know my true answer, Like, I haven't converted to Islam, but if I were to, like, go more hard, like, I've been nominally Christian my entire life, but just the way that I see how Christians behave and how they don't really embody, like, the teachings of Jesus, like, if I were to actually, like, I don't really participate in organized religion, but if I were, Islam is where it's at right now, guys, because Islam just does a better job. Like, for instance, Islam, like, charity is actually a big part of, like, they believe in, like, doing charity works and actually following through, whereas I feel like Christians say that they do. But here's, like, some examples. Like, a lot of people right now that might be low income that are, like, trying to go to food banks, there's some people that say when they go to churches they make them show, like something what they make. They have to prove this and this, or they have to attend the church. And I'm not talking about all churches, but, like, there's some food banks that make it really hard. And then I read a review about this Islamic organization in our area that when people were in need and they came to them and they're like, we need some food, they gave them food, no questions asked. And I'm like, sometimes Muslims are just better about that. And that's just something, like, I'm not converting to Islam, but there's just certain things that I admire about Islam and how they actually embody the teachings of Jesus better than some Christians. Now, one Christian group that I think actually kind of does is the Seventh-day Adventists. I would say they actually do, and I would say, like, the people through the Salvation Army, they actually do, but because I've seen it. But a lot of Christians just don't. Like, especially right now, the way Christianity is practiced in the U.S., it's not real, like, because in the Bible it says how you should go visit people in prisons and you should share a meal with a homeless person. And I see a lot of people that are Christian, they don't do those things. They don't even want to, you know, so I kind of steer away from, like, making these proclamations on my channel. My channel is not a religious space to, like, be a certain religion. I just say believe in God. And guess what? Christians also believe in Jesus, and so do Muslims. So there you go, SpaghettiOs. You know, I'm going to go ahead and take that out because that's not true. I don't know, like, what kind of because you're just saying that somebody's anti-Jesus when that's not true. And I have a lot of people that follow my channel that are Muslims, and they do believe in Jesus. They just don't believe in Jesus the way you think that they should believe in Jesus. But yeah, so like I said, I also am part Christian Syrian. You know, my background, where Christians in Syria and Lebanon lived with Muslims for centuries in peace. So we learned, like, to work together, and we have a more positive view of Muslims. And if you don't, I don't know what to tell you. But like I said, I'm not converting to Islam. I don't really do organized religion per se, and I'm not saying that churches don't help people. But you don't get to come to my channel and do that. You can go start a religious channel. It's not okay. I have no problems with the LGBTQ community. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, I don't have any problems with them. People who have a problem with them are the Trump supporters. I don't. But I just decided that Paisley needs to go. She's not part of my channel. And I know some hardcore Muslims might have a problem with them. And like I said, but most don't, honestly. Like, as long, well, in some countries they might, but, like, in the West, no. And I'm not doing culture war on my channel. Like, these people that want to do culture war, they can go do it elsewhere. I know Muslims that have no problem with people living their own life as long as they do it in their own space, okay? Like, there's a way to be respectful of everybody. And I don't know, Paisley, that's just not okay. Like, why would we want to go to your church? Like, after reading everything she said, I can't imagine somebody wanting to go to that church, because I don't see Seventh-day Adventists doing that, and I don't see the Salvation Army doing that. But that is just not welcoming. Can you imagine? Like, you know, Paisley, it's not the truth. Paisley, I just took that out because why don't you go, like, start a channel spreading your joy? Because I don't really know what your problem is. That's the problem I had with that guy that wanted to take medication to become, like, feminized, but he said that Trump was bad on LGBTQ plus issues, but yet he still voted for him. I honestly, this is the scary thing. My grandparents, born in 1920s, were more forward thinking than people coming up in this day and age. Like, I don't know if you heard, but there's like some guys who are saying that women should be prepared to be wives. Like, there are some guys that are going on social media and saying that. Like, I hope they don't believe that. Maybe they're just rage baiters. But I don't want to be part of your culture war. Like, I feel like we were progressing as a people, and I'm not part of regression. And if you're a church, maybe you shouldn't come on so hardcore saying, do you believe Jesus died for you? Because that's not the way to spread Christianity. That's not the way they do it. Like, you know, Orthodox Christians don't do that. Catholic Christians don't do that. It's like this evangelical kind of fundy. And it doesn't mean that you can't believe in Jesus, but you don't need to do it that way. And my channel's not a place for you, okay, to go be meanie weenie. You want to do it, go do it somewhere else. Like, we're not interested. Like, that's okay. And this is not an invitation for you to, like, spread your religion, okay? You can do it anywhere you want. Just not here. How about that, okay? How about you work on your vocabulary? Gonna is not even correct English, okay? I know everybody's not going to. G-O-I-N-G, going to. Like, I'm not trying to correct, but, you know, just try and spell words out. I know people like to use, like, more slangy English, but please. That's not okay. Paisley, off. Like, you're just being, like, rage baity. This is not okay. Anyway, in further news, I don't really care. There's always going to be somebody that comes in here saying, do you believe in Jesus? Go start a channel about it. Talk about it. Like, you invite people to your channel to talk about religion. We're done. Like, if this is where I just was trying to make a point that I think that this whole religious thing is getting a little out of hand, and making religion part of politics, which in the U.S. Constitution, there's supposed to be a separation of church and state, but we have a group in this country that wants to impose their religious viewpoints on everybody, but you don't get to do that, okay? We live in a democratic country. Like, that's like American Christian Sharia. And, you know, plot twist, a lot of Christians love to criticize Islam and saying, oh, that they hate. But, you know, I'm part Syrian, Lebanese. In Damascus, Syria, Christians and Muslims used to live together, okay? Like, up until all the recent, like, I'm not saying their government was perfect, but Sharia law applied to Muslims, and the Christians had their own laws, and they lived together in peace and harmony. That's my ancestry, okay? I don't hate Muslims. If you hate Muslims, that's your problem. That's a you problem, not a me problem. I don't have time for that. So anyway, I knew we'd get somebody one day that had to share culture war, but yeah, American politics are very interesting. I say everybody should do what they want as long as they're not hurting other people, okay? If you want to live your own life, whatever kind of relationship you want to be in, that was the whole point about my libertarian discussion. I don't care if somebody wants to be in a same-sex or a transgender relationship. Like, how does that hurt me? But there's a lot of people in this country, they would like to make that illegal, like it used to be. Like, but it's not that those relationships never took place. They still did. They just, people would do it under the radar. I don't don't really care what kind of relationships. I mean, I'm not going to be in a relationship like that. And I just find it funny, like, you'll have people that claim to be so pro-freedom, but they're usually the ones that have these views. And a lot of them tend to be maybe actually transgender. But they said that they voted for Trump and they pretend that they're not. I don't know. I don't get it. But this is just one example. And culture wars kind of aren't healthy. I'm not into your culture war. It's just not cute. But that's all I'm going to say about that. But anyway, yeah, that's an interesting. I guess at least it was a real person and not a robot this time. This is why people don't talk about religion at all or politics, and I actually see why, because those are the kind of like commentaries you get. But also too, plot twist and PSA announcement. What Paisley's saying is actually how a lot of hardcore MAGA think. She just actually will tell you, and they'll kind of hide it. Like, the majority are not going to be out, like, saying that. But I told the swinger story the other day, didn't I? About, okay, so there have always been people that, like, have this, before MAGA was a thing, like 20 years ago, before MAGA was a thing, back when you had the neocons who said that we're the neoconservatives. Our neighbor, when I was a kid, okay, this guy is so interesting. I guess he grew up Mormon, but he didn't really practice the faith anymore. Well, he gave me a ride back to college a couple times. This was like a long time ago, late 90s. And this guy, like, so interesting. Like, he didn't tell me he was a swinger right away, but I kind of got it because he was, like, listening to Howard Stern. And at the time, I guess Howard Stern kind of considered himself conservative on some issues, although I don't know what he is anymore. But, like, fiscally conservative, although he's wild, like, the things he says are crazy wild. But my neighbor, like, was saying things. I was like, this is interesting. This guy has some interesting thoughts. And then, yeah, we found something out. So my sister babysat this guy's daughter who used to, like, go to a party at our neighbor's house, okay? And we knew, like, they claimed that they were, like, conservative and Republican, because a lot of Republicans up in the San Bernardino Mountains, like, where I grew up, they love to talk about how they were Republican, like, that was a thing. Like, even though California is generally liberal, you will have a lot of people who are Republican. They like to talk about it, and they think you should know about it. And they'll put flags in their yard, or, like, saying, like, vote for this Republican candidate. Well, this guy was wild, okay? We found out. So we had always wondered, because they had these parties at their house with, like, 20 people that would come over on a Saturday night and spend the night. They're like, I don't know, like, how many people have, like, 20 couples, like, coming to their house, just a moderate-sized residential house on a Saturday night. And we're always like, that's interesting. And we're more of an introverted family, so, like, we didn't really pay that much attention to it. Yeah, so, but, okay, so my sister babysat this one guy's daughter, and he told her, yeah, me and my wife got divorced because we used to go to one of their parties at their house. And he said, just so you know, like, and he just, I don't know, maybe he was sour grapes because he was divorcing his wife. But this is what he told us. He said, just so you know, that guy and his wife have swinger parties. Swinger parties! Like, this was a whole 70s thing. Like, you know what that is? Like, where people swap, like, partners. And not everybody's married, but a lot of them are, and they, like, swap partners. And they don't always do it in seclusion either. Like sometimes it's all out in the open, like without going into details about this. And so this guy could have been just exaggerating, embellishing, but we didn't think so because my sister, when she was a little bit younger, was friends with the girl, and they said one time that they had to have adult time in the basement, and they locked the door and they made her, my sister, and the friend and the younger sister go upstairs, and they didn't come out for like a few hours. And I don't know, maybe they were just having a party down there. Maybe this guy embellished and exaggerated, but they were definitely drinking, and they're pretty wild, but they're Republican, and now they're MAGA, and I don't really care what people do with their life, but they're not the only ones. I know a lot of people that live wild lives, that believe in drinking and smoking, which I don't believe in any of those things. I believe in living a quiet life. And yeah, but yet they are the ones now that talk about, like, especially their old age, about how you should do this or that. And I'm like, did you live that kind of life when you were like 39? Like, I think when you were 39, you were having debauched parties. And I'm like, but now you're like this pro MAGA hat. And Trump didn't live that way, but man, what do I know? So I'm just saying, and even ministers are like this too. That's why I do believe in Jesus and I believe in God, but I also respect Islam. And if you don't, like Sufi Islam, if you don't, you don't have to. Like, I'm just telling you, that's my viewpoint. I'm not here, like, I don't even care if somebody's an atheist. Like, personally, like, I've always believed that you need to find your own faith in life. Like, I'm not here to, like, tell people what to believe. Like, I think you need to find your own way. And I'm not impressed with a lot of so-called Christians, especially since a lot of them like to just, like, I've seen Christians be really mean. And those comments there, that didn't make me think, wow, you love people. That didn't make me think, oh, wow, people want to go to your church. Like, it just sounds like it's an us versus them dynamic, right? And I don't know. I'm not impressed by that. There are actually some churches that don't do that. But the churches that engage in that, I don't know. But, you know, at the end of the day, you do you. You do you. So, I'm not a fan. But some people love the American culture war. This is why most people don't talk about politics and religion, period. Because it's never going to get you anywhere positive. It just isn't. You know? It just isn't. But now I feel like you kind of have to talk about it these days, just because there's just so many things happening in our society that I think we need some awareness of, like, where people are coming from when they're, like, proposing certain legislation, and when there's certain things happening in the news, that I think we need some awareness of, like, how we got here. And how we got here politically was because there was a group of people that had a lot of animosity towards progression. Like, they wanted regression because they felt that progression, like, just on fiscal issues. Like, look at Muslims. A lot of Muslims are progressive on, like, economic issues, social safety nets, but in their own personal lives, like, they live very modest lifestyles. They don't drink, they don't smoke, they are only being sexually active with their marriage partner. Like, they're not doing crazy things. And these are people living in the US, whereas there's a lot of Christian people that claim they're that way, and they were not that way in their youth, okay? But now in their old age, they're pretending like they live that way. Or there's younger up-and-coming Christian ones that are, like, on YouTube or TikTok saying you should be a trad wife, and, like, promoting the idea that a woman's only destiny in life is to get married, or telling men that haven't found a girlfriend that it's a woman's fault that he is single, and that promoting, like, hatred of women unless a woman does all XYZ to them. And there are Christian groups that are promoting these ideas in this country. Not all Christians, okay? Not all Christians, because there's a lot of progressive Christians that don't fall for this malarkey. But we got here from a place of FOMO, and that's what I see it as. So yeah, that's my viewpoint on that. I think people really should just not be so mean, period. Yeah. And rereading some of those comments, I just don't feel like somebody that writes something like that is making good choices. Or cares about people in a legitimate kind of way. Like really, if you do, just go volunteer with your church, but don't be on YouTube like writing comments about people like that. But anyway, that's kind of the vibe I get from a lot of this culture war. But the culture war is dumb. It's dumb. Yeah. Progressive people don't have time for culture war. But maybe people that really want to hold on to the idea that Trump was a great choice are going to like glom onto the culture war because they like instability, okay? It doesn't have to be this way. I think we can have more stability, you know? But you'll have to vote Democratic if you want it. That's why I switched my party back. Like recently, I'm like, you know what? I was registered libertarian for like 10 years. I'm like, no, we're going back. But when I went to the DMV to get my new ID recently, I'm like, I'm switching back to Democrat like that. And when I got the card in the mail, I was like, yay. Like it made me feel good. I'm like, it just made me feel like coming back into making better choices. Like I feel silly that I fell for all the libertarian malarkey. I do. Like, I think I was just too open-minded to what they had to say. But they were playing the long game for a really long time. Just like a lot of these Christian conservative people that don't like many different groups in America. And they want us to go back to some idea of what they think we should be. But people were never exactly that. Just in their mind. And their church leader was probably off with 10 different women in a year, having debauched parties. But you know, if they have their belief that, oh, like a president was doing this or a church leader was doing this, then maybe it's just what it is, right? You know what? We're done. You are being so like provocative. Like we're not going here. This is bye. I you know, that's not cool. It's not okay. Anyway, that's all I had to say about that. I think I'm going to tone it down a little bit. I'm talking about that because a lot of the wacky tackies are coming out to play today. Like, really? Is that what you want to do with your free time? Like, I just said, why don't you go do this? And I don't feel any Christian love from that. But, you know, I remember there was the guy that really wanted to talk about that to me. Like, never had an abortion. Why are you so... And then, yeah, no. And I'm not indulging that.